All right, LB, the Lions just wrapped up game one of the season. Already they're dealing with injuries. We saw that the Lions announced that Jeff Okudah is going to be out with an Achilles injury. I just want to get your opinion, man. You're around the team. What do you think that does to this team?
Yeah, I mean, Herm, young secondary already. They really counting on Jeff Okudah to have a bounce back year after his rookie year. What I'm hearing that the coaching staff is telling him is just to look forward to next year. It's really not much he can do now. Throwing it back to you, Herm, we've seen Jeff in 2 seasons now, been pretty up and down. What's your thoughts about his performance?
You know, Lo, what I saw from Jeff Okudah in the first part of the preseason was, here's a player who's coming back from an injury the previous year. He has a lot to prove. He had some ups and downs during the preseason, but he showed flashes of why the Lions made him a high draft pick. The concern was, could he finish out the season without injury? And we learned that too early. Now, being that he's going to be out for the season, that's going to throw a huge concern into this team's secondary stability, and also really from a defensive side, where does that leave them in the ability to play man coverage?
Now that Jeff Okudah is out, you have a real young secondary. What do you think about their performance?
Well, going back to this previous game, they have a young secondary. There's some inexperience that's there. There's some inconsistency is there. You got Parker, you got Walker, you got Awarrior. Now that Okudah's out, now you got a guy that's got to come in as a rookie in Iffy. That is going to be tough. That's going to be tough for this team to be able to play man coverage. I think there's going to be some missed calls in the secondary because now you don't have a unit that's played together. We're used to seeing secondary units that have had time to gel, but this team has not had that, and they were expecting to get some of that done last year. You get all the changes happening this year, and now this is what you're stuck with. Yeah, it's a young secondary, but it's a secondary that needs to play well now, and because they don't have that, I think there's some concerns they should have definitely defensively. All right, Lo, let's transition over to the offensive line. They've had an injury now to Taylor Decker. What is that going to do to this offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the chemistry, Herm. I mean, you have to take Penei Sewell from the right tackle position and put him over at left tackle, and then you have to bring up Matt Nelson, a guy that's a backup to start at right tackle. So between that, the chemistry of the offensive line, the communication on the offensive line, because you had a veteran in Taylor Decker who's no longer there. So it just changes up a lot of different things. So to me, the offensive line really went from one of the strengths of the team to now it's kind of a question mark until you could get Taylor Decker back and move people back in their natural positions.
All right, Lo, let's go back to Penei Sewell. Here's a rookie that in the preseason did really, really well. I noticed that they were running the ball his way. He was getting some opportunity in the run game. Also saw him have to do some pass protection. Did fairly well there. And also now he's taken that and he's transitioned over into the regular season. In first game, he looked good. I just want to get your thoughts on Penei Sewell and just his transition, and also how is that going to help this team?
Yeah, well, Herm, I was really proud of him, man, especially being a young fella. And like you saying, being moved from the right tackle to the left tackle position, even though that's his natural position, but it's still this big learning curve in the NFL that you have to go through as a rookie. The one thing was him going up against Nick Bosa, one of the premier defensive ends in this league. The Lions threw the ball 57 times during this first game, and he pretty much held his own up. He had a lot of one-on-one blocks with Nick Bosa. They didn't have to provide a lot of help over there on that side. I was really proud of the way he was able to step in. And also Matt Nelson, he did a nice job of stepping in to the right tackle position, backup that's normally in that role, but he was thrust into being a starter this game. So I think those guys did real good being young guys on that line. We're just going to have to see how they keep progressing as the season moves along.